Discovering the Truth here on Ahlebait TV, Sky Channel 745. I'm your host for tonight, Fahima Mahomed, and I welcome you all, dear viewers, from wherever you're watching around the world, as well as the different platforms that you're tuning in from. I love to do these shows for the main reason is that we have amazing voices that come on this platform to speak, and the majority of our speakers are from various backgrounds and sect and also from around the globe. We also have a majority of our speakers tonight, which includes a scholar. So if you do have any questions or queries or comments, please do call in and we hopefully can answer your questions on this live show tonight. We have a special guest all the way from the United States, and I'd love to introduce her today. We have Lisa Vogl. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for taking time out. I know that it's in the middle of the afternoon. You've had to change appointments and things like that, but I really appreciate your time. Tell me, whereabouts are you in the United States?
I'm in Florida, sunny Florida, so I'm very blessed. It's very warm here all year round. And we should probably warn the viewers that it is spring break, which means kids are out of school. I'm a single mom and they are in the living room. So we're hoping that we don't have two special guests attend the live. So inshallah, we'll get through this just fine.
That's fine.
Yeah,
no, we'll take it all tonight just to have your company. It's an absolute pleasure. And if we are going to have a little, couple of walk-ins, absolutely fine. This is what it's about, to have amazing young women.
I specifically scheduled this. I'm like, okay, great, they're going to be in school. And then I didn't know that there was spring break.
Yes, we do have a time difference. Yes, you are in the afternoon and we are in the evening here. And I am a little bit envious of the weather right now that you're describing, but inshallah, we hope that you can bring the sunshine, with the show as well. We are going to be talking about something which is come about again and again. And we'll go into a little bit more when our Syed joins us. But I just want to introduce the topic so that our guests know that the main issue raised tonight is about new Muslims, whether or not they've been practicing for many years or recently, and sort of, how do they face their non-Muslim relatives? I think it's a really big topic. It's a really big issue. And we will come back to that in a minute. But before we do, I want to find out a little bit about yourself. I know that you have an amazing business that you run. Could you explain to the viewers, a little bit about your company and, what exactly does that involve? Because it's nice to get to know our guests a little bit.
So I run a modest fashion brand. It's called Verona Collection. We are, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, we've been the first modest fashion brand to be bought in a department store. So we were launched in Macy's in 2018. And then I know you're all the way in England, but I do have, our company is in England as well. We launched at ASOS in 2019. So we're the first modest fashion brand to be launched at ASOS as well. So keeps me very busy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good to know, because I know a lot of my girlfriends and a lot of women out there that are watching. If you do want to, get some modest, sort of wear out there, please. Now we know it's available at ASOS, and that is quite a big company that you actually. So congratulations on that, and it's really good to celebrate, Muslim women who are actually, an entrepreneur and in business and doing what you're doing, especially as a single mom. So that in itself is something to definitely sort of celebrate, acknowledge, and respect. And I highly appreciate you being here with us tonight. So you've been a revert new Muslim for how many years, Lisa?
I converted July 29th, 2011. So it's almost been a full 10 years since I've been Muslim. So it's funny that this topic came up and you asked me about it. We were discussing what topics it was going to end up being, and this popped up, and I haven't really spoken about, I've almost avoided my convert type interviews, you know what I mean? Because I felt it got kind of redundant, and I want to always, anytime I do something, I want to keep the sincerity into it, no matter what it is. So I felt like I was constantly just telling my story, and then I was looking back because I'm now approaching my 10 years, and I'm like reflecting, and I'm like, where have I really gone right in my journey of Islam, and where have I really, I feel like dropped the ball, and I should be knowing more surahs, I should be knowing more du'as, I should be I don't know how to read full Arabic, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, it's ironic that this came up, because it's almost made me reflect a little bit more, because it's going to be 10 years that I've been Muslim in just a few months.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I, being a Muslim myself, and, born Muslim, and knowing lots of, Muslims around me in the community, I know that, a lot of new Muslims do put a lot of, sort of like quite hard on themselves. And you'll be surprised that a lot of even, born Muslims still are, on that journey. And I think that's what really Islam is about, that it is a continuous journey, and you are always going to be learning, and it's never ending, especially when it comes to our Islamic knowledge. So, but it's great that you have that ability of wanting to constantly learn and reflect, and, want to know more. So that in itself, I think, is already a step ahead. But, yeah, we can put a little bit more pressure on ourselves than we need to. But I'm glad that this kind of show and topic has given you an opportunity to do some more reflection, which is a great opportunity for us to actually even share that, especially now that we're approaching in a month's time Ramadan, which is a month of reflection and more practice, that it isn't just for then, it is actually for, throughout our lifespan, and throughout, the months and the days and the weeks and the year as well, which is really important. And I'm glad you highlighted that. When you actually came into Islam, like, what was your perception, and how were you received by, fellow Muslims generally around you at that time?
I'm like, where do I start?
Wherever you want.
Okay, so for me, being very honest, the very first time I walked into a masjid was in college, which was God knows how long ago. Very welcoming, mashallah. I remember meeting the sister, and she was from Sri Lanka. Very accepting, and I'm so sorry if you can hear he's crying, but they're okay. They're just fighting. That was the very that's normal. That was the very first experience, and it was a very lovely one, mashallah. Very welcoming. But it was a very, very, very tiny masjid in Pennsylvania. Fast forward a decade later, really started to learn about Islam, and that's where my journey of Islam began. I started going to a masjid here in Orlando. And I don't want to call the community out, because mashallah, I have so many friends from the community, and there's so many amazing people. But at the same time, it was also very difficult, because people would actually stare at me at the masjid, like almost like, why are you here? So I think we just had a guest join in.
Yes, I just want to welcome Syed, Abbas, Abedi. Salamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, Sister Fahima. How are you?
And we have with us Lisa as well, joining us, who's just been explaining her first experience going to the masjid as a Muslim, and 10 years later, her experience of how she was received. Before I come to you, Syed, I'd love for her to continue with that story. And then we haven't really touched on the topic yet anyway. I was waiting for you on that.
Oh, sorry for a bit delay. I welcome Sister Lisa as well to the show, and definitely we'll get benefit of her presence here, inshallah.
Definitely. Please carry on, Lisa.
I was explaining how, in some aspect, the community that first welcomed me there's so many amazing people in it, and they welcomed me. But then on the flip side of it, I had people actually staring at me at the masjid. I was a different race than the majority of people at the masjid. A lot of people spoke a different, language than me. And so off the bat, and it was intimidating. You know what I mean? I'm going into a completely foreign environment, and the majority of people spoke a different language differently than me. practiced a different religion. They like everything about what I had known was just taken away from me in 2 seconds. Now I was welcoming that change. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But were the people staring at me welcoming me? You know what I mean? So that's where it became it was slightly uncomfortable. And this is just honestly just my experience. This is the experience of every Muslim, and every time you walk into masjid, this is the case. It just was something that happened to me. But I ended up converting 9 months later because I was so interested in Islam. There were so many beautiful things about it, but then at the same time, it was also disheartening because I saw this is what Islam teaches, and then I saw X, Y, and Z practiced, right? So I had to really try to say, like, no, I believe in this because I believe in it from Islam, and it took a while to understand that Islam is perfect, Muslims are not. You know what I mean? So I have to recognize that not everybody is going to practice the exact way we're supposed to, and I have to give them that leeway as well. So it was both a blessing and difficulty at the same time.
That's an amazing way of looking at it, because I know a lot of Muslims are, that come in, sort of non-Muslims that come in into Islam, and if they have that same experience, it can actually deter them to veer back to where they were before. And I have had that experience, and of listening to that. So that's a very mature attitude, and it is actually a test in itself for you to come into Islam and expect a community to follow this beautiful faith, but to come into it and see some parts of it where it's not like that. But your attitude was amazing.
I'm so sorry. He's been crying for a little bit. Can I go check on my son? I really apologize.
I need to speak. I need
I'm
to
so
speak
sorry.
to Syed anyway. So, Syed, we hear these stories again and again with regards to, new Muslims coming into Islam, and, they have a different, sort of like experience as to what they see Muslims behaving as. And I know that, we generally say that you don't come into Islam for the people, but especially as a revert when they've left their families, and if they are coming in expecting and they're learning a religion and they think that certain people are going to follow, how common is it for them to actually be disappointed and then to overcome that disappointment by still continuing in that faith? And it is quite a test in itself. What's your thoughts on that?
All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to apologize for the delay entry of myself, and I thank
problem.
you and Sister Lisa for this great program. And definitely this program aims to get more experiences coming from the converts and those who are new in Islam. And the question was about their disappointment sometimes if they go to the mosque and meet the Muslims, and sometimes maybe they feel some sort of being strange for them, although the Islam itself is not depending on any uh, human behavior or any culture even. Islam is limitless, Islam is borderless, Islam is colorless, Islam is like even the cultureless. Islam does not deny any culture if as long as the culture is not against the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my point in this regard is to always the Muslims, those who are welcoming the new Muslims, they should always think and keep three major points in their minds. Number one, they are not the owner or let's say host of Islam, because Islam is the natural religion, and those who realize that this is the natural way, they come to the natural way of their own path, their own nature. They are not coming to your home, they are not coming to your place, or they are not coming to your mosque. Actually, they are actually coming to their own nature. So no one can claim that, look, we are Muslims, so we welcome you, and you are new Muslim. It means that you are the guest of us. No, you're not host for any new Muslim, because they are themselves have the same nature, and they sometimes definitely considered as better than the old Muslims, the original Muslims, so-called original Muslims. So how? Because those who are the Muslims by birth, they did not pay any cost to become Muslim. They did not face any difficulty. They did not face other issues. Those issues are, I feel, dedicated to the new Muslims. They should put efforts. They should face the challenges. They should face many other difficulties, social, cultural, sometimes environmental, and even the relationships. So they should sacrifice a lot to become Muslims, while the by birth Muslims, they did not sacrifice anything. So they should not feel that they are better than the new Muslims, although the new Muslims are considered as better than the Muslims by birth. The second point they should always keep in their mind, that one of the great responsibility of those who are Muslims by birth is to not only convey the true message of God to others, they should act and behave as Islam demands from them. And they should behave as Islam commands to them to be behaved. Like, for example, Islam says that if someone just say La ilaha illallah, you consider him or her as your brother or sister. That is very important point. إنما المؤمنون إخوة, as Quran says. Mu'mineen, the believers, are the brothers and sisters of each other. They have same rights as the Muslim by birth have. So this should be properly considered by the Muslims, those who claim to be the Muslims by birth. The third point, which is so important, and the 2 points, the previous 2 points, is that they are actually they should try to support and facilitate them to understand more and feel comfortable when they are coming towards you. Actually, they are actually doing some favor to you, because you get this chance to have this kind of welcoming attitude towards them and facilitate them in order to understand more the Islamic environment, and they feel comfortable when they come to you, to your mosque, to your center, or to your home even. They should feel exactly just like people when they go to their own house, they feel just like relaxed. So they should feel like that. Otherwise, they are actually oppressing the new believers, the new Muslims. And we don't want to see any kind of oppression within ourselves or even to the non-Muslims. We Muslims should behave as Islam asks us to be, inshallah.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. That was a very detailed and important factor. I think a lot of us do need reminding, reflection. And if we haven't heard that before, that's why this show is so important, in order for us, all, Muslims and new Muslims and even non-Muslims to realize that this is what we stand for, and this is what and how our behaviors should be. And thank you, Syed, for actually saying that quite powerfully. When it comes now to the real topic of discussion, when, as the Syed has also mentioned, that this there's so much sacrifice that a new Muslim has to sort of like put themselves into. And one of the major sacrifices is, you know, sort of like veering off from their own family belief system. And when we have new Muslims that are, you know, coming out to say that now they have taken on this faith, majority of their family members, very close members, you know, parents, siblings, cousins, you know, obviously are not on the same path. And, you know, Lisa, I'm sure, you know, you obviously can speak about this a little bit more. Obviously, there's various stories, but, you know, what is, you know, your thoughts on new Muslims that are entering into Islam when they have non-Muslim relatives? What is, you know, the actual, you know, talk around that?
So I actually was very fortunate. It was a lot of friction within my core family, my father, my mother, my sisters, my brother, for a short period of time. They didn't disown me. They didn't, you know, tell me you're no longer my daughter, because that happens. Like
Yes.
there are tons of converts, reverts, whichever, you know, it doesn't matter to me. Do have to say, like, have to understand that this new faith, I now am disowned from my family. That happens, and it happens a lot, unfortunately. For the difficulties that I face, I actually find myself to be very blessed. My father was the one that surprised me the most. He told me, if you're happy, I'm happy. He was a devout Catholic his whole life. He went to Catholic school. It was very much ingrained in him and his whole family. For my mom, it was very difficult for her, because if you're a man that converts to Islam, unless you grow a very long beard and you wear, you know, thope all day long, your appearance doesn't necessarily change, right? But if you are a sister that converts to Islam and you choose to wear the hijab, now all of a sudden my appearance has changed in front of my family. And so they feel in some way like I've lost a little bit of my daughter, right? So that's kind of how they
Yeah.
felt. So it did take a lot of patience from me, and I wasn't always the best at it, because I like to be fully transparent in everything I do. I don't try to act like I'm perfect. It was difficult for me, but that's the hard part about, you know, what it was for my mom. She said, well, you can be Muslim, but why do you have to wear the hijab? And so that was the biggest difficulty for her. And the one thing she found in Islam is that you're supposed to respect and obey your parents. Of course, she finds that one part in Islam, you know, to tell me. So I had to explain to her that if you're telling me to do something against Islam, that's when you don't follow your parents. So I had to explain that to her. But alhamdulillah, like, I was very fortunate. Now they're really supportive of me. They you know, they promote, like, if I have an article that goes out about Islam, like, they are so supportive. There's small things here and there where, like, you know, I'm discussing my kids going for a week there. I'm like, Mom, they only eat halal, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to explain, they're like, yeah, we get it, but they don't really take it seriously. Like, they'll respect it, but they're like, but I don't even find that a challenge. That's just something that you have to constantly be explaining. Then on the flip side, I have to be patient, and I have to
Yeah.
say, this is what I chose. I can't impose this 24/7. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I have to respect that this is my path, and they have not chosen this, and inshallah they do, but I have to respect that they haven't. So I have to say, you know, some families might say, oh my God, there's alcohol. I don't mind my children seeing that, because they're going to see it everywhere else. So I have an opportunity to say, this is how they live their life. This is how we do not. And this is why.
Yes.
You know, so people might sit and say, oh my God, haram, but I don't look at it like that. I look at it as an opportunity to teach my children. My kids, alhamdulillah, mashallah, they actually will make sure something's halal or haram before they touch it, and he's 6. You know what I mean? So I think it's okay to expose them, because the reality is they will see it in real life. So, however, my extended family, I'm pretty much like dead to them, you know, because I'm Muslim. Like, they, you know, like, they might as well, like, think I'm the worst person in the world because I'm Muslim. And it is what it is. I'm okay with that. I'm going to still respect them. I'm going to still be polite to them. I'm still going to show them that this is what Islam really is. And I'm going to embody that in my actions. And inshallah, that can help them change and have a different perspective of Islam.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's not easy, even though you said that the call was a little bit easier than most. But even to even have that story, I find that I think it's even more reason that existing Muslims, born Muslims, need to be a little bit more understanding and welcoming and not staring. Because at the end of the day, your story just shows how much that you sacrifice and how much you're going through, even up till today. And you know, we do need to have these conversations to show that this is really vital and important. And yes, you've been, you know, Muslim for 10 years, but the thing is, it doesn't take away from the fact that you might be, you know, passing by your cousin, your relative, your blood relative, but you know, you don't have that connection anymore because you have chosen the path of Islam. And that is really powerful, and I respect you and acknowledge you for sharing that. And I just hope that whoever's listening, they do take, you know, into account how important it is for us to actually, you know, extend ourselves beyond our cultures, our cliques, our own communities, because this is really not on. Because we need to have, you know, the real living of Islam. I hear it over and over again that, okay, we're not here to, take on Islam because of the people, but you know, you coming into a, you know, a culture, and you coming into a religion where you still want to have community around you. So that is still something that we have to be accountable for. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sayed, when it comes to, you know, relatives that are not accepting you, and there are obviously extremist stories, you know, further than even what Lisa has explained of her own. um, how do sort of, you know, new Muslims, you know, come into Islam and try and still be, you know, accommodating to their relatives who don't even recognize them anymore? It sometimes even is their own parents and own brothers and sisters, I have heard. What are the rulings on that when it comes to, you know, because they say you shouldn't be, you know, disconnecting from your family members. So how do they maneuver around it? What is the rules around that, Sayed?
All right. The topic is very interesting, new Muslims versus non-Muslim relatives. There are two ways of behaviors coming. From one side, definitely they are so upset that their daughter or their son is no more in their religion. He or she is gone out of their track, out of their religion, out of their faith. Definitely, that is the natural reaction, that they get upset first, and then sometimes maybe they show their anger by not talking to them, not sitting with them, and not even caring them, and be very harsh with them. All these
Mhm.
things are natural things, which I believe that everywhere the human being's behavior is exactly the same. So if you lose something, definitely you get angry, you get upset, and try to bring that thing back. And they think that my son or my daughter is gone astray according to their faith, right? This
Mhm.
behavior is natural behavior. But here, the first trial of the new Muslim is here, that how she or he behaves with their parents, with their non-Muslim relatives. Here is a test for them. For them, there is a great example in the history of
Mhm.
Islam. I believe you know it. Otherwise, I am going to share a beautiful example from this part of the matter. We got a great, not the companion, but he came to Medina after his mother's death. Uh, his name is Uwais Qarani. Uwais Qarani, a very strong, faithful person, converted into Islam without seeing the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, without meeting him. When he received the messages, the divine message, he felt that this is the right way, and he became Muslim. But his mother was not only disbeliever, she was against his conversion. So what happened is that she used to oppose all the time, and he used to smile at him and behave gently, be kindful to her, and try to put more services, give more services to her, to look after her, to bring her more joyful moments for her, while he knew that she is against him and she is against even the prophet. She used to even swear at prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he used to be very kind. Once upon a time he asked her that, if you let me go and meet my prophet and come back, if you give me permission to go from Madinah, from the Yemen, a very close part of the Yemen and the Saudi border. He wanted to go by riding the horse to Medina and meet Holy Prophet and come back again. She was alone and she was so old and ill lady, and she was, according to some narrations, she was blind as well. So she had no one except this only son. So she said that, I let you go, but promise me that you are going to come back to me before sunset. If you do this, you can go. Otherwise, I'm not letting you to go to Medina to meet your prophet. Although I am against your prophet, because you always give services to me and be you always very kindful to me, I let you go to meet your prophet, but you have to come back before sunset. He promised his mother, and he rode the horse, and he went to the Medina and knocked the door, and the Holy Prophet was not there. He was on some occasional journey. Some of a person who was inside the house asked, who is there? He said, I am Uwais Qarni. I came to meet my prophet. They said, no, prophet is not here and you have to wait. He tried to wait, but he just calculated the time. If he wait more than that time, he is going to break his promise to given to his mother. He said, no, my prophet always insists to be kind to the parents, although they are not Muslims. He felt the responsibility towards his mother, and he again started riding his horse and coming back to his mother. And mother did ask him that, did you meet to your prophet? He said, no. So why you came back? He said, because I already made promise to you that if I meet prophet, I should come back before sunset. So there was no time for me to wait there, and I came just for you. He said, who taught this all beautiful things? He said, my prophet. My prophet taught me that I should be kindful to my mother, although she is not Muslim. That is the teachings of Islam, the true religion. And there she has totally impressed by this behavior of Uwais Qarni, and she said, I am ready to accept Islam too. So I am going to convert into your religion, which is so beautiful and very kindful for the parents. So if we are, for example, new Muslim, we should pass our test here, and we should be kindful to them, although they are not kindful to you because of the conversion. They are against you, but you should be very gentle with them. You should be kindful, just like Uwais Qarni used to. So this example is for all new Muslims. If they face any opposition coming from the relatives, especially parents, they should tolerate it. They should be very patient, very kindful to them, and show the real face of Islam. Definitely, this kind of behavior can affect upon them as well. That is the
Thank you
example.
very much. Yes, no, absolutely. I love the story, and these are the kind of stories that actually opens up our mind. And speaking to a lot of reverts and converts, and many people that have come into Islam, I feel that they do embody that. To be honest, they do actually have the real teachings. In fact, they need to teach our born Muslims a lot more. And I feel that they actually do have, they're living the real struggle in life, and they do embody what you've just said. So thank you so much for that beautiful story. And it does actually sort of bring more courage to people that are coming in, facing challenges, to know that this is part of the test. And inshallah, with real sort of like conviction to your faith, that you will overcome that. And not just for yourself, but even to understanding that, you know, people around you might actually respect you and your faith, and, you know, take that upon themselves too. Lisa, when it comes to relatives, we've spoken about the non-Muslim relatives, but you know, you have been married before, and you've taken on relatives that are, you know, from your, you know, your husband's side at the time. How is that for a new Muslim coming into a family, and you know, you should be part of that family? And how is that, you know, not just your story, but what you've heard about, you know, new Muslims generally coming into a Muslim family through marriage, for example? How is that now received, you know, from your sort of like, you know, surroundings and your thoughts?
Um, so we won't go into it, but those who know me know my story, and it's very public. You know what I mean? And so know the marriage. The relatives, alhamdulillah, very, very, very sweet. You know, he has three sisters, very, very sweet individuals. So I was blessed in that regard, that they actually were very accepting of me. And didn't really impose like, hey, this is, you know, he comes from the Pakistani descent. Like, they didn't impose that I had to dress like this, or had to make samosas, or had to, you know what I mean? I actually was very blessed in that regard, that they didn't push their culture onto me. And they were very warm and loving, accepting. However, pre that marriage, you know, I had proposals before, and I've had proposals afterwards. So I can for sure speak on a lot of other experiences, because what do you want to know? You want to know the family, where did they come from? You want to know their background, not in the sense of like I care about the ethnicity, but you're learning about them. It was always, I shouldn't say always, a large portion of it was the denial, because you're not the same race. You were a convert, you're a single mom, you're divorced, you know what I mean? So I've had a good experience from the in-laws of my marriage. However, plenty of proposals. The mother straight up, I've had this one mother tell me face, she said, you are amazing, but you're not, I don't want to call the culture out, you're not so-and-so, so I'll never accept you. She said this to my face. And this is not an exception. This is, to me personally, it's happened many, many, many times, because I'm not this type of Arab, I'm not this type of Desi, I'm not this type of Southeast Asian, you know, whatever it is, it's happened a million times. And I've heard tons of other converts and reverts. And it happens even to born Muslims too, that there's so much tribalism within our communities. It's like you just segregate. So imagine to a convert and being accepted from, you know, potential in-laws or in-laws. There's a lot of amazing people that are completely accepting, but there's a lot of tribalism, and you know, where you're not a part of us, and so you stay over there. And it's just the reality. It's unfortunate, and that's where we need to change. I know the topic is talking about, you know, non-Muslim relatives, but the reality, and at least for my case, is the more difficulties came from within the community. And that's just the reality. We're talking about alienating from, you know, converts from their own families. In my experience, alhamdulillah, like they accepted it. This is my way of life. I don't impose it on them, but they respect my way of life. Where I felt alienated in many cases was within the Muslim community. You know, the Sheikh, you told a beautiful story about, like, you know, in the beginning about how you know, when you're after they take their shahada, you know, you need to make sure and guide them through. And that's beautiful because that needs to be there, because oftentimes when I took my shahada, I was not expecting the entire masjid to come in and watch it like it was like, you know, some of the most amazing. I was not expecting that, but that's what happened. The entire masjid stopped and they wanted to see the shahada. It's so exciting. A new Muslim coming into Islam. Where are they the next day? Where are they 2 days later, 3 days later? Who was there to teach me how to pray? I learned from YouTube. I didn't even know how to properly do my fast. I started at sunrise through halfway through Ramadan because I thought the Quran saying from sunrise to sunset. So I'm starting at sunrise time. You know what I mean? Not at Fajr time. So these things we don't know. And we're having to learn on our own throughout the entire process. If we don't have a sense of community and somebody there to help us through like, imagine the barakah, you know, that you get for teaching someone or teaching them how to pray. You know what I mean? Imagine how many blessings you can get for that one revert now praying their 5 prayers, you know, for the rest of their life, inshallah. Imagine that. We need to think of this as an opportunity to gain good deeds in the barakah that comes from it. And I read a staggering statistic because I wanted to kind of just see it before coming on here just to look into it. One statistic said that as many reverts coming into Islam is the same amount that leave. And one statistic said 40%. So why is that? Is it that it's too difficult? I don't think so. I make all my 5 prayers, alhamdulillah. I don't think it's difficult to refrain from non-halal meat. These are small changes in life. I really don't think so once it becomes habit. Why is that? Because they feel alienated. They don't feel a sense of community. They don't feel that, you know, someone's there to encourage them. And then on top of it, when they become Muslim, I know I'm going way off of the topic from what you asked about.
No,
So
please
forgive me.
carry on. This is what it's about. Please carry on.
They also, I think there's this expectation of a revert that the minute they take their shahada that they need to be a perfect Muslim. You know, they need to have it all figured out, right? I needed someone to help me say the shahada. How do you expect me to know how to say Surah Fatiha and make my prayers? How do you expect that? So we need to eat, and this advice I feel should go for both Muslim and non-Muslims, that we need to stop have such a judgmental mentality, and we need to recognize that it's a journey for everybody, okay? And that as long as you're moving towards Allah, Allah is, you know, running towards you. So if we try to do everything perfect from the get-go, you're going to go the opposite way. I truly believe that. So even with my hijab, I could be better at it, but I've gotten better along the, you know, where I rarely will wear pants. You know what I mean? I'll make sure if it's a top, it's all the way down to like, you know what I mean? But if we make that person think that she needs to be in a niqab and, you know, not a strand of hair coming out, she's going to be so like thinking like, this is too much. I can't handle it. So Islam is about balance, and we have to slowly try to like incorporate these type of things into our life and become a better Muslim day by day.
Yes.
So
I love
that's the
everything you
advice.
said. Thank you so much. You know, this is why we have the show, to have powerful women like yourself speak. And I think what you've said, regardless of it being, you know, the title, I think it's really important that we do have this on air live for people out there to listen, because it's only your voices that's going to give us the knowledge to improve ourselves, to improve between ourselves, and to integrate and to put these things in place. That's why even this platform, Sincere Community Services, has been there, because they have recognized this issue. They have realized, and that's why they only invite, you know, new Muslims like yourself to speak, because we want to hear the truth. We don't want to assume, and we want to give that kind of knowledge to Muslims, non-Muslims, and even people that are trying to learn about Islam, that this is, you know, an ongoing journey. And when there is pressure on, like you said, for people to be perfect, just because they say they're Muslim from the beginning, they have to get it right, and if they don't, they're judged. That happens
Right.
not just for new Muslims, by the way. We've seen this on, you know, many sort of, you know, Muslims as well, especially when it comes to women. The first thing they looked upon is their appearance, and they ridiculed straight away. So that is definitely happening. There's so much advice that you've actually said in what you've just spoken about to actually make us learn, me, myself, to reflect, and even, you know, hopefully the ulama to even make more of an effort for the community to be having this insight and to instill more support. I mean, we can talk about support, but it starts from within. It starts from ourselves. So, you know, just to even befriend somebody who is coming into Islam and actually welcome them into their home as a friend. And like you said, it's so hard when it comes to relationships because they're not accepted. Where is the space for them? And there's people saying you should marry from your own background, it's better. So what happens to the new Muslims? What happens to people that Islam is not even about that? So I really, really thank you for saying that. It's really vital. And I'm so happy to have you on the show. Syed, we've only got a few minutes left, and you know, I want you to sort of have your thoughts on what Lisa just said before we end the show.
All right. First of all, I would like to appreciate Lisa, Sister Lisa, to share her experiences with us, and we are here, as you said, we are here to assist the new Muslims in any form, like social, educational, emotional, and even providing other facilities that we can, not only the materialistic one. There are many other assistance can be even imagined. So we are here to assist them, and we hope that this is ongoing journey, and we should all think more about providing services to the new Muslims and try our best to be the proper, obedient, practical Muslims. As my sister said, that many people, they are saying that, oh, we want to have only the one as partner with our own background and all these things. This is culture. This is not Islam. Sometimes people, they are confused. They say that whatever they got as culture, they think that that is the Islam. No, Islam is totally different, and sometimes against this kind of thinking, that we should always be with our background, with our own family, or for example environment which we have already created. That kind of thinking is not acceptable in Islam. Islam says that this kind of attitude is the narrow-mindedness, number one. Number two is ignorance. Number three, this is one of the types of racism, even thinking that others are different and we are better than others. This kind of attitude is not allowed in Islam, and Islam always emphasizes upon the faith itself. Don't even look at the color, look at the face even. Just look at the faith and the practical, being practical Muslim. If someone is practicing Islam in a proper way and having strong faith, that person is superior than others. Otherwise, there is no other criteria. As Quran says, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." The one who is most, who has more taqwa and piety is actually better than others, those who are not having the same level of piety. So this kind of Islamic teachings, if Muslims, even born Muslims, if they understand, they should definitely practice Islam and don't think like this kind of narrow-mindedness, to be just stick with their own culture or with their own backgrounds.
Thank you so
And
much for that,
finally, I'd
Syed.
like to request Sister Lisa to be the part of our team in future. We are making many video clips, tutorial video clips for the new Muslims, like how to pray salat, how to do wudu, how to do ghusl, and all other things. So if you can help us, assist us as a team, definitely we will be grateful for your cooperation, inshallah.
Inshallah, would love to.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. I have your details, and I'm not letting you go even after the show, Lisa. You're an absolute gem and a real special guest tonight. I'm so grateful to have you. Thank you so much, Syed, for your wise words as well. And I really appreciate your time. I know you had to go and see to your kids, and it just shows how, wonderful you are having to manage and do this no matter what. And I am so, so grateful to have you tonight. Thank you so much.
The popsicle.
It's fine.
No longer crying.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Inshallah, we have further collaborations with yourself, like the Syed has mentioned. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for watching. And it's been a very insightful show tonight, a very, very powerful discussion by our Syed and definitely by our sister Lisa. And inshallah, we hope to have her back again. Inshallah, you have a wonderful evening. We will be back with another episode and take